let's start setting up.
Okay.
Hello, this is Froogle, and taking a look today at a combination of softwares that normally I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. I know some of you read PC Pilot, and those of you that don't will know that I don't do jets. I don't do them. Typically when I do reviews, they're on... Oh god, there he goes again. Hang on. Okay, typically when I do reviews of aircraft, they're on propeller-based aircraft. Normally the classic ones, World War II era type stuff. I don't tend to fly jets because until recently I didn't really see the attraction in them. I thought they were somewhat boring, flying a computer. However, that has all changed because I got this, which is the PMDG 737 NGX, which is a Boeing certified simulation of a 737 NGX, and it is incredible. It comes with 3,000 pages of documentation, which is why it's taken me so long to get videos up, by the way, because I've been busy studying this. And the reason I've been studying this is there is another product out there called FS2CREW. Now, the FS2CREW people have just released a version of FS2CREW that works with the 737 NGX. Now, what FS2CREW does, let me backtrack a little bit. Another reason I don't like the big commercial jets is there are so many systems to manage, you need more than one person in the cockpit. You know, typically you don't have just one person in the cockpit when you fly on your vacation. You have a pilot and a co-pilot, and the co-pilot, or the first officer, is the guy that actually does a vast amount of the work while the captain flies. With FS2CREW, you have a first officer, and he's controlled by your voice, of all things, and it adds a level of immersion that I don't think I've ever experienced in any flight simulator ever before. And it also not removes the challenge, but it simplifies things quite a lot. I only need to be aware of my side of the cockpit, so this stuff here all the way to up there, and that's it. Now, having said that, it is still an incredibly complicated aircraft to manage. There he goes again. Hang on. You done? You done? You finished? Alright. First officer right now is doing his pre-flight electrical startup. Once he's done this, he will jump out and walk around the aircraft, and I'll go through setting up my bit on the aircraft. Now, to work this video, it's actually a set of 3 or 4 videos, I'm doing the PMDG tutorial flight, but expanded. In the PMDG tutorial flight, number 1, there's 2 of them, you actually start with an aircraft that's running. I'm doing cold and dark, as you've already seen. My first officer is setting everything up, and I'm taxiing from the gate, and I'm doing all that stuff, so I can really exercise FS2CREW and get a feel for how everything works with that product. In addition, normally I would fly with Track IR. I will be flying with Track IR for the other 3 videos in this series, which will be taxi, and then takeoff and climb, and then cruise and descent. But right now, I've actually got Track IR turned off, and I'm using something called EasyDock Camera, which lets me bind keys to basically float around the cockpit like this, which is very, very useful, because there are so many different things that you need to look at when you're managing this aircraft. So FS2CREW is being used for the views. Also lets me hold the mouse button down or spin the view around like this, which is going to make you very nauseous. I will try not to do that. FS2CREW for my first officer, and the PMDG 737 NGX. I'm not going to show you what it looks like outside because I don't want to screw anything up. I'm still getting used to this. So in that vein as well, I apologize if I get anything wrong. I'm trying not to. I actually have the PMDG Tutorial Flight 1 open on my iPad in front of me, as well as Boeing's FCOM version 1 or V1, which is the proper procedures and checklists you need to work through as captain in a Boeing 737. And I've got 2 documents open talking me through FS2CREW while I work through all this. I've done this a number of times. It's kind of 50-50 as to whether I get it right and the aircraft starts up. So hopefully we get it right this time, and all will be good. Now, any second now, that guy is going to jump out of the cockpit. We are scheduled to take off at 8 AM. It's 7:33 right now. That's how long it takes to get this thing running. The downside, I guess, with FS2CREW is that the first officer is doing most of that work. So there will be a period later on in this video where we're actually just sitting here and you're listening to me talk even more, because there's nothing for me to do, which is both wonderful and very, very dull. Just warning you, just letting you know. Let me bring up the thing here. This is how you bring up the FS2CREW dialogue. Hopefully Fraps has picked that up, and it's got a number of things in it. It's got a config panel, which you saw at the start of the video. It's got a briefing panel, which you're going to see shortly, when we go through the departure brief, myself and the first officer. It's really very, very cool. All right, let me fire up the FCOM here. I need to set up the flight control thing. Oh my god, I'm already screwing up. That thing, FMC, flight management computer. I need to set that up, but I'm not going to do that until he steps out. The reason why is FS2CREW, as I said, it does everything the first officer should do. If you start fiddling with knobs and stuff, you can really screw him up. So I'm not going to screw him up. I'm going to leave him be until he steps out. Then I'll go through my stuff, which will be the preliminary pre-flight procedure for the captain from Boeing's own documents. How crazy is that? I've got my microphone. I'm using two microphones, by the way. I'm recording my speech, obviously, on my normal mic that I record these videos with, and I have my headset mic, which is currently muted, so that the first officer doesn't get confused with me talking to you, and he can get quite confused. The speech system is actually using Microsoft's built-in speech.
I'm out for the walk around.
There he goes. Microsoft's built-in speech system in Windows, which you need to heavily train for it to be accurate. Anyway, so first thing I need to do is set my IRS mode selectors, which are up here. Set them to nav. You will see DC on there, and then it will go to a line and start flashing. There he goes, one. There goes the other one. Voice recorder switch, we're going to have that off. I don't need to bother with checking my maintenance documents or the flight deck access system, so I'm not going to bother. All the lights are out, which is good. My service interphone switch. This is actually very important because I need to talk to the ground crew later on. That needs to be off, which it currently is. What else have we got? Engine panel is set. Reverser lights are extinguished. Engine control lights are extinguished. EEC switches are on. I'm going to leave that. Oxygen panel should be pretty much set. Yeah, we have oxygen. Nothing untoward is functioning up there, which is great. My landing gear lights are illuminated. 1, 2, 3. There they are. Flight recorder switch. I'm not going to bother with that. Circuit breakers. Okay, fine. And parking brake is set. So with all that done, we go down to the FMC. I had actually, having said that I don't like flying jets, I had actually always wanted to try a PMDG jet. They are so extensive. One of the things that they have, which is very cool, is this. In the FMC, you can click on FS Actions, and you set up the aircraft here rather than using FSX's menus. So I can say I want 1/3 of the fuel tanks loaded up. I'm going to set my payload here as a full set of kids and people. 12 kids in first class, 150 idiots in the back, and 1,500 aft cargo, 1,500 front cargo. Done. Now we hit menu. Notice it's telling me enter IRS position. That's why I just did that. IRS switches on the top of the cockpit there, because we need them to set up the GPS, which is what's going to happen right now. Set IRS position. Next page, pick up our GPS location. Previous page, paste it in. We are all set. Now we can go through setting up our flight. And I'm doing a lot of this from memory, even though I have the documents in front of me, so I don't spend time flicking backwards and forwards through pages. We are flying from London Gatwick. We are not using air traffic control. We're going to depart runway 808 right. We're going to land in Amsterdam, EHAM, on ILS runway 18 right. So departing Gatwick. If we now go over to route, I'm English, so it's route, not route. That is EG. Oh, it already typed that in for me. Let's get rid of this. There is a key you can press on the keyboard, tab, and then you can just use the keyboard to type this stuff in. However, I do have keys set up for easy dock cameras, and it screws with that, so I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to type it in with the mouse. EGKK to EHAM. There. This is Froogle Airlines flight 737. I'm actually a 737-800 with winglets, for those who are curious. Okay, that's all done now. Let's look at our departures and arrivals. We are going to depart from runway 08 right using the Clacton 5 Papa SID there. Now if I hit next page, no, if I go route, sorry, and hit next page, here we go. And we are going via UL Uniform Lima 620 to Redfer, Romeo Echo Delta Foxtrot Alpha there. Now go departures and arrivals again at Amsterdam. As I said, we're already flying via Redfer, so we're going to find the Redfer 1A terminal approach there, star. We're going to land ILS runway 18 right, and the transition is SUG 3B. Done, I think. Let's go look at legs. Make sure we're all good. Okay, so we are all good. A couple of things I need to fix in here apparently. That constraint there needs to go away. And that's just what it tells me in the manual, in the tutorial flight. I don't fully understand why that needs to go away yet. I will, just not right now. This, we have two Sugals here, which is wrong. We're going to go into a holding pattern if we leave those both there. So using the FMC, I can select that second one, click on the first one, and delete everything in between. And we're going to change this constraint here to 250B. Done. So looking at the, what's the name of this document again? The FCOM document, FCOM V1. I have set my initial data. I have set my navigation route. Now I'm going to go to Perfinit, my performance data, up here. So zero fuel weight, the FMC will calculate for us in the PMDG aircraft, which is 122.7. I'm going to have 5 for the reserves, using a flight cost index of...
back from the walk around, everything looks good.
Fabulous. Of 25. That reduces the amount of fuel that we spend in the climb in particular. Now our transition altitude is going to be 6,000 feet. Our cruising altitude is flight level 250. Put that up there and execute. We are all done. So having done that, now we need to go to the N1 limit, engine limits page. We're going to have a derated engine. Take off derate 2 here, assuming an outside temperature of 40, which will derate the engines even further, selecting climb 1. That's all set. Good, good, good. So with that done, now we can go to takeoff. It will automatically compute our center of gravity for us. There we go, 25.7. Taking off with 5 flaps, which will give us a V1 speed of 138, VR of 138, and V2 of 143. How easy is that? That took quite a bit of practice. Okay, let me zip back up to my main view here.
Hi, Captain.
Oh,
May we start boarding
I'll turn my microphone on. She wants to know if she can board. Yes.
Great.
Isn't that cool? You just speak to them and they just respond to you. The trick is figuring out where you are in the various procedures and not getting lost. So I'm just flicking through the FCOM stuff here. Make sure I know what's coming up next. The first officer, now he's back in the cockpit, is continuing to set stuff up, which is why it says up here pre-flight. So we let him go and do his pre-flight. Okay. Good, good, good. Pre-flight procedures next. Let me just check on the status according to the FS2CREW manual. Now, obviously, if I was more well versed in all of this, I think he's not ready yet. If I was more well versed in all of this, I would know instinctively where I am. I'm not, so I just have to follow the manuals for now. I apologize. It is a beautiful aircraft. Look at the level of detail here. Every single knob and switch and button in this aircraft works. The other cool thing is PMDG have modeled more than just buttons and switches. If you were to turn on hydraulic systems, for example, it will actually simulate the flow of hydraulic fluid from point A to point B and the amount of time it takes. Oh, I should shush. Can you hear in the background? People are boarding. How cool is that? But yeah, it simulates things like how long it takes for fluid to reach from point A to point B. Yeah, that's covered in here, which is just crazy, really, really crazy. Okay. So I'm waiting for him now. It says wait, which means I need to wait. So that's exactly what I'm doing before we get to the pre-flight checklist. I will quickly jump back over to the FCOMs and see if there's something else I need to be doing. No, I need to wait until after the pre-flight checklist for my next bit. So I'm going to grab my glass of milk here. Lovely stuff. Okay, you even have a PA. Look at this. I can make announcements like welcome, departure delays, returning to the gate. I can tell the cabin crew arm slides, closed doors. Very comprehensive set of buttons and things that FS2CREW, which is this, adds to the 737 NGX, which is this. There is a button version. This is the voice version of FS2CREW, but there is a button version as well, which enables you to press buttons and trigger speech and so on and so on. I really wanted to do the voice one, so that's the one that I'm looking at in my review that I've got to write for the magazine. Crazy amount of detail up here. Really, really crazy. So everything's getting slowly set up. Let me zip up here. We should be able to see him flicking switches shortly. Actually, I need to adjust this down. This is the pressurization controls. So flight level of 25,000, landing altitude of 0. Good. Auto pressurization for the win. Everything is looking pretty lovely right now, but
Light slope.
oh, he's still going through the tests.
Pull up.
Good, good. I'll be quiet
Wind shear.
while you hear the
Wind shear. Wind shear.
bitching Betty
terrain,
here.
Terrain. Pull up. Sink rate. Pull up. Terrain. Pull up. Don't sink. Don't sink. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Gear. Too low. Flaps. Too low. Terrain. Light slope. Bank angle. Bank angle. Minimums. 500. 400. 300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Too low. Terrain. Caution. Terrain. 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 Pull up.
Alright, so he's finished doing all those tests. Should be coming up on the big pre-flight checklist in a second, which is where things get very interesting. And I always get things wrong. There are preset responses you can give as voice commands, but it's also fairly intelligent. Like if you just say checked to something, then the co-pilot doesn't really question you. However, if you say it state, like on, off, or auto, or continuous, he will check it, and he'll tell you if you're wrong. You move on to the next step in the checklist anyway, but it's quite disconcerting, so you're going to hear me say checked quite a lot. I had some problems setting this up earlier on, and things that I thought were set and were showing a set weren't set, and it's actually very confusing.
TCAS test. Pass.
Alright, he's coming up now on his point where he's going to want the pre-flight checklist. You still hear people boarding behind me. Incidentally, I've got this recording now in 2-channel stereo sound. Normally I have it running with surround sound, and it's pretty incredible. The FS2CREW sounds, you'll hear people behind you and beside you when they enter the cabin and tell you about departure checklists and things like that. It's pretty crazy. The first time I ran this, it actually scared the crap out of me, and I jumped out of my seat because I wasn't expecting to hear somebody right by my right shoulder telling me that they're ready to go, which is very strange. He's got to be done soon. I just heard the stick shaker go. Oh, by the way, I can get rid of this down here and you can see a little bit better. Quite a quiet Gatwick today. How are we doing on time? 7:48. We are moving at 8 in the morning, so not long to go right now. So that's actually an hour behind, so it's going to be 9 in the morning. My apologies. So it's 8:48. So normally at this point I would still be entering stuff in the FMC. I would have worked it out kind of as I'm going, referring to charts and reading all my charts and stuff like that. Here he goes. Obviously I've done that beforehand. Okay, I'm going to turn my microphone on and you're going to hear me speak to him and him speak back, hopefully. Pre-flight checklist.
Oxygen.
Checked.
Instrument transfer and display switches.
Checked.
Window heat.
Checked.
Pressurization mode selector.
Checked.
Flight instruments.
Okay, heading 350. Altimeters 29902.
Heading 350. Altimeters 29992. Parking brake.
Set.
Engine start levers.
Cut off.
Preflight checklist complete.
So sorry about the pause there. I could have just said checked when he asked about the engine instruments. I'm kind of trying to get into the correct way of doing all this, and that requires me to look at this display here, and I had to remember the order to read things out, which is heading and then altimeters. I'm actually going to go and switch those altimeters now onto HPA. Like so, and that one there. I don't know why the cockpit down here just got a little bit fuzzy. It does that a little bit in FSX. This aircraft is Prepared 3D compatible. I have got it running in Prepared 3D, I'm just not recording in that. FS2CREW though, I'm not too sure about. Alright, I need to continue with my FCOM stuff now that he's done that. Whoops. Just make sure that I am all set up here. So, light test. Let me just jump back out to a wider view here. We will run that switch up. Everything's good. EFIS control I've set that up just now. You just saw me do that. VOR ADF switches as needed. They are fine. Center switches as needed. Mode selector here should be on map, which it is. Range selector, let's dial that down to 10 nautical miles. Traffic switch, he did that. Weather radar off. Mode control panel set. Oh, I need to set up my mode control panel. Here we go. He's already... Looks like he's already turned on the flight director. And I am the master, and he is not. Good. Okay, so our heading on runway 8 right is actually 079. We're going to dial that up now, and you'll see as I'm doing this, by the way, it's affecting all of this stuff here. Our speed, that would be the V2, 143.
Good afternoon, Captain.
Oh.
I have your load and balance sheet here for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Captain. Have a nice flight, and I'll be seeing you later. Bye.
So that's him dealt with, and we're going to set an altitude of 5,000 until we get clearance above that later on. That is all turned on. I should be able to arm LNAV and VLAV right now. I'm not entirely sure why I can't. I do believe we broke it. Okay, something going on with that. Let me see if I can figure this out rather than break the video and start from scratch. Once again. Legs, activate. I didn't activate my route, that's why. Thought I did, but I didn't. So now I should be able to go LNAV and VNAV. Good. I'm getting used to this at long last. Okay, where are we now in the checklists? Let's bring this up once again. Oh, he's going to want departure briefing, so let's go ahead and do that. I'll let the computer do that rather than me do it.
Are you ready for the departure brief?
I'm ready for the brief.
Okay, we have no MEL issues today. I will be the pilot flying. It will be a standard takeoff using noise abatement departure procedure 1. The departure will be an ATC assigned SID. We will use flaps 5 for takeoff. Runway condition is dry. As for anti-ice, it's not required. Engine bleeds will be on. From 0 to 100 knots, for any malfunction I'll call reject and confirm the auto brakes are operating. If not operating, I will apply maximum manual braking and maximum symmetric reverse thrust and come to a full stop on the runway. After full stop on the runway, we make a decision on further action. From 100 knots to V1, I will only reject for one of the following 3 reasons: engine fire, engine failure, or a takeoff configuration warning horn. At and above V1 will continue into the air, and the only actions below 400 feet are for you to silence any alarm bells and confirm any failures. Above 400 feet, I'll call for failure action drills as required, and you will perform memory items. At 800 feet above field elevation, I'll call for altitude hold, and will retract the flaps on schedule. At 1500 feet, I will call for the checklist. If we're above maximum landing weight, we'll make a decision on whether to perform an overweight landing as the situation requires. If we have a wheel well, engine or wing fire, I will turn the aircraft in such a way the flames will be downwind and we will evacuate via the upwind side. If we have a cargo fire, I want you to ensure the emergency services do not open the cargo doors until the evacuation is completed. Any questions?
No questions.
Departure brief complete.
Right, so that's the departure brief done. Now we just got to wait for the cabin crew to finish loading everybody, which will take about 5 more minutes. And while they're doing that, I'm just going to quickly whiz around this cockpit here and also check on these checklists and make sure that I haven't missed anything. There is so much to do. It's very hard. Incidentally, what I do for complex aircraft, not like this, but complex aircraft, I have a thing called Goodreader on the iPad, which is fabulous. It hooks into my Dropbox account. I put all the PDF files for the aircraft into my Dropbox account. Then I can download them into Goodreader and I can actually highlight stuff. So what I've done here in the 737 NGX is I've gone through and I've highlighted all the captain stuff. So I'm only doing the things that I need to be doing. Anyway, let's look here. He's now finishing up his start procedures. We have set up the remote control panel. We've already tested and set oxygen. The clock is fine. Nose wheel steering guard closed. Our 2 main displays need to be set to normal, which they are. Takeoff config light should be out. Cabin altitude light is out. And we've already done a light test. And all I need to do now then is go through, set up my trim here. So if we drop back down, whoops, going the wrong way with easy dock there. Drop back down here to my N1 limits. Take off, it tells me I need a trim of 5.04. So we're going to dial that in down here. Currently at 4. Dial that up to 5.04. Somehow. It's very delicate. 503 would do. We should be there. Good. We are all set. Make sure our standby instruments are all good. They are. Everything's looking lovely. Nothing's caged. My standby RMIs, I'm not going to mess with those, but they are fine. Let's check out speed brake lever. Should be down. Whoops. There, which it is. Reverse thrust levers should be down. My forward thrust levers should be closed. My flap lever should be set at 0, which it is. Parking brake is still set. Engine start levers are still in cutoff. Stabilizer trim cutoff switches are normal, and I need to check the HUD since the 737 NGX actually has a heads-up display, which is kind of cool in that it's collimated as I move around. It's very hard for you to see, I think, but if I move around here, you see, did you see as I moved there, it kind of vanished from view? You see that? That's very cool. So if you're using track IR, as you move your head from side to side, you lose this, which is neat. Let's get rid of that for now. Pop this open once again. About a minute to go, minute to 2 minutes to go before we enter the next phase. And FS2CREW will kick in. You will see the walkway retract and hear a crew member come in and tell me that we're good to go. At which point I will welcome our passengers on board and we will start the pushback. Now, as I said, this is the first of probably 4 videos. This first one is just startup. As you can see, it's a 30-minute video. The next video will be taxi, running through all the taxi checklist and takeoff. The third video, so taxi, let's do taxi, takeoff to climb to cruise. Third video is going to be descent, approach and landing. Fourth video will do shutdown and sum up what I think so far. It's taken me so far a month or 2. I don't have a lot of time to get familiar with this aircraft, and probably about a month as well to get used to FS2CREW and the scripts that crews on these aircraft go through to get everything configured and to manage the cockpit workflow. They actually do work according to scripts. It's very heavily scripted, so there's never any surprises. And to manage FS2CREW and this aircraft, you need to learn those scripts, which takes a bit of doing. I think we're all good. I think we are all good. I can arm the auto throttle at this point.
Hi, Captain. The cabin is ready to go.
Thank you.
If you need anything, just let me know.
Alright, so let's welcome everybody on board.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the cockpit, this is the captain. On behalf of myself and all the crew, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you aboard. We'll be ready to depart in just a few moments, so please sit back, relax and enjoy the service. And as ever, thank you for choosing to fly with us. We know you have a choice, so we certainly appreciate your custom, and we hope you enjoyed the flight.
We are pretty much on time, but let's hurry this up and do the before start procedure. So, before start procedure,
Check.
he is now running through his before start procedure. I've pretty much done mine, and then he will call for the checklist. I need to make sure I've got this set up on the page I'm going to need in a second when he works through that checklist. We are all good.
I'm ready for the
here.
checklist.
Alright, here we go. Before start checklist.
Flight deck door.
Checked.
Fuel.
Checked.
Passenger signs.
Checked.
Windows.
Locked.
MCP.
Okay, V2 143. Heading 079. Altitude 5000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 138. VR 138. V2 143.
CDU pre-flight.
Completed.
Rudder and aileron trim.
3 and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
Completed.
Anti-collision light.
Checked.
Before start checklist complete.
Alright, so that's all that done. Let me jump back down into the main cockpit view. Okay, so now it gets interesting. We have to speak to the ground crew. So I need to switch my radios down here, back here, there, and go through that whole procedure, which is actually pretty cool. Check this out. Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead.
We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed and the pin has been inserted. Please release the brakes.
Brakes released.
Roger, Captain, push back and you are clear to start all engines.
Start sequence is 2, then 1.
Check.
Start engine 2.
Starting number 2.
So I've got to wait for the engine there to reach 25%-ish, and then I can move this cutoff lever out of cutoff. We are moving backwards, by the way, right now. I'll show you. Doing the pushback.
Starter cutout.
Start engine 1.
Starting number 1.
So now we can just wait for this pushback to finish. I don't know why I've got an electrical warning light here. We'll probably fix that after we finish recording this video. I don't really want to stop right now. Maybe he'll finish that in a second. Oh, there it goes. Yes, that was it. Nicely pushed back.
Starter cutout.
Okay, push is complete. Set brakes, please.
Brake set.
Thank you, Captain. The tow and pin have been removed, and I'll see you on the left-hand side with the pin.
You are cleared to disconnect and go to hand signals.
Okay, everything looks good down here. Have a nice flight.
Set flaps 5. Flaps 5.
Check.
So he's just doing his before taxi workflow now. He's cleared that master caution light for me, which was great. Flaps are down, he set those for me in response to my calling them.
Takeoff flaps set.
And he will finish up his before taxi flows and then say he's ready for the checklist, and we are good to go. So we will actually do this before taxi checklist right here,
I'm ready for the checklist.
and that will be the end of this video. So here we go. I think, I hope, I pray. Let me find my little FCOM stuff here. Alright, before taxi checklist. Before taxi checklist.
Generators.
Checked.
Probe heat.
Checked.
Anti-ice.
Checked.
Isolation valves.
Auto.
Engine start switches.
Continuous.
Recall.
Checked.
Auto brake.
RTO.
Engine start levers.
Idle to 10.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Ground equipment.
Clear.
Before taxi checklist complete.
Clear on the left.
Clear on the right.
And we are good to taxi at this point. How cool is that? And we are only 5 minutes late. Haha. Thanks for watching. Once again, my name is Froogle. In the next video, we will do the taxi and then the full checklist leading up to takeoff, followed by takeoff and climb, which should be pretty cool if I can figure it out. Thanks for watching. Bye.